Of all the interesting characters Major League Baseball has to offer, there's always been one thing they've had in common. They all seem to genuinely enjoy the game they get to play on the world's biggest stage. And then came Anthony Rendon, who is quickly becoming one of the strangest stories in baseball. How did we get here? Well, let's start from the beginning. In his 11 years in the major leagues, Rendon has come in the top 11 of MVP voting 5 times, coming as close as 3rd in 2019. He's been an all-star, has multiple Silver Sluggers, and is a World Series champion. He accomplished all of this by his age 30 season. I think it's pretty safe to say that not only is he good at baseball, he's very good at baseball. So much so that when he hit free agency after winning the 2019 World Series with the Nationals, he signed a 7-year, $245 million contract with the Angels to be their star third baseman of the future. He joined perennial MVPs like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. The Angels also signed Joe Maddon to be their manager in that same offseason. The new-look Angels were here, and Rendon was one of the faces of their franchise, but it never really took off the way either side had hoped. In 2020, we had the COVID-shortened season, but Rendon performed generally up to expectation. Although he started the season with 28 straight plate appearances without a hit, he turned it around and came in 10th for MVP voting, and the signing so far was looking like a success. The 2021 season came along, and this is where things started to go downhill. Although he's been very healthy most of his career, playing almost every game, he was placed on the injury list 3 separate times throughout the season until ultimately being out for the rest of the year by August. None of these injuries seemed to be related. One was a groin strain, another was a knee contusion, the third was a hamstring strain, and ultimately it was a right hip impingement surgery that took him out for the season, in which he only played 58 games. In 2022, he played even less, appearing in only 47 games that season. In mid-June, the Angels announced that he would be undergoing surgery on his right wrist and was expected to miss the rest of the year. Bizarrely enough, just 9 days after that announcement was made, he was involved in a benches-clearing brawl between the Angels and Mariners. While wearing a cast in his right hand, he hit Mariners' Jesse Winker with his non-injured left hand, for which he was handed a 5-game suspension. Even though he was expected to miss the rest of the year, he was activated late September to serve his suspension and ended up playing in the final 3 games of the season, where he batted .229 with 5 homers and 24 RBIs on the year. He did have a pretty cool moment though, where he batted left-handed against Brett Phillips and he hit a home run. 2023, the year that things started getting real weird. In April, he got into an altercation with a fan who Rendon believed was heckling him. He grabbed the fan by the shirt, pulled him onto the railing, and then attempted to hit the fan while exchanging words with him. All of this was recorded by another fan, and the video went viral. Due to Rendon's lack of performance in the past few seasons, very few had sympathy for him. He was ultimately suspended 5 games and fined by MLB. He decided not to appeal the suspension, which caused it to be reduced to a 4-game suspension. But then stranger things started occurring between Rendon, the Angels, and the media later that year. On July 4th, Rendon fouled a ball off the lower part of his left leg against the Padres. He was initially listed as a bone bruise and then put on the 60-day injured list. And then he kind of just disappeared. He didn't speak to the media for over 2 months, as many were wondering how a bone bruise could take someone out this long. In one bizarre exchange in early September, a reporter in the clubhouse asked for an update on his injury, to which Rendon replied, "No habla inglés today." For you non-Spanish speakers out there, that directly translates to, "I don't speak English today." He then reportedly put his hoodie on and left the clubhouse. To make things even more bizarre, the Angels stopped making their head athletic trainer Mike Frostad available to the media that season. It got to the point when Rendon finally did decide to speak to reporters on September 15th, that in of itself was breaking news. As it turns out, there happened to be quite a bit of miscommunication between what the Angels said his injury was and what Rendon was now saying his injury actually is. He told reporters that he had a fractured tibia, which the Angels have said was not the case since July, consistently calling it a deep bone bruise. The fracture was confirmed by doctors outside of the Angels, and that he diagnosed sometime in early August with the fracture. When Rendon was asked why the Angels didn't announce the injury as a fractured tibia, he just responded with, "You got to ask them." According to a close source that told ESPN, initially Rendon saw 4 doctors. 2 were chosen by Rendon, and 2 were chosen by the Angels. They all diagnosed him with a deep bone bruise. It was a 5th doctor who gave him the diagnosis of the fractured tibia. The Angels general manager Perry Manassian did not respond when he was requested to comment on the situation. Rendon's agent Scott Boras started to downplay the rumors of some apparent disconnect between his client Rendon and the Angels. He said that Rendon's doctors and the Angels medical staff have been, quote, in line. Rendon was further asked by media why he didn't say something sooner, as public perception of him has been pretty negative. His response was, "I don't care, they don't know the facts." There was even some speculation that he wouldn't return for the 2024 season, although he's under contract until 2027. He said that he hasn't thought about whether or not he'd come back next year. And then things just keep getting stranger. In January of 2024, he was asked on the Jack Vitas show on what he would like to change about MLB. His response was, "We gotta shorten the season, man. It's too many dang games. We gotta shorten this bad boy up." This drew the ire of fans and even ex-teammates, being that he hasn't played more than 60 games since he signed his Angels contract. Ex-Nats teammate Jonathan Papelbon tweeted, "Played with Rendon and literally hates baseball. Yeah, it's long. Isn't that what you signed up for? Just tell the team you want to play half the season and give back half your salary." We now move on to spring training, where the saga continues, and Anthony Rendon and his relationship with the media, the fans, the Angels, yes, it does get stranger. On Monday, February 19th, Rendon was asked if baseball was still a priority, a fairly straightforward question where most would expect the answer to be of course it is. Whether or not it was true, you would want to say yes. And Rendon answered honestly. He said, "It's never been a top priority for me. This is a job. I do this to make a living. My faith, my family come first before this job." So okay, let's give the benefit of the doubt. It may not be a top priority. So the reporter then asked, "Is it a priority at all?" Of which Rendon responded, "Oh, it's a priority for sure because it's my job. I'm here, aren't I?" He was then asked if he wanted to be here. Rendon said, "I don't want to talk to you guys at 7 in the morning or whatever time it is." But the media, striking while the iron was hot, probably thinking who knows when Rendon will speak to them again, asked him if he had any desire to play for the Angels. His response was pretty to the point. "I've answered your question, so why do you keep picking at it?" But then he went on to have a fairly normal interview, talking about how he hopes to stay healthy and to be a team leader and contributing member to the Angels, and that he's going to take it one day at a time. Before the interview was over, he was asked how he felt about the perception of him by the fans. He said, "They don't know me. They only know the surface area there. They're fans, right? They might know that I'm 6 feet tall and 190 pounds, but they don't know who I am as an individual." He then used Barry Bonds as an example. Barry Bonds is arguably the greatest player to ever play this game, and people still hate him. You can't make everybody happy. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. "I don't want to have surgeries. You think I like going under the knife and being in pain the majority of my time? I can't pick up my kids. I can't walk. You think I enjoy that? I don't want to do that." Well, if there's anything that's consistent with Rendon, it's been his feelings on when to call it quits. In 2014, he was going through old emails to delete so he can free some storage space up. He ran into a note that he emailed himself a year after his first season in the majors. In that email was a list of the pros and cons for continuing to play baseball. He never went into detail as to what the pros and cons were on that list. With that being said, ex-MLB players like Eric Kratz had some opinions on this. He said on the Foul Territory podcast that everyone knew how immensely talented Rendon was. But the issue was always that he never seemed to love baseball. He even mentioned that players were doubting he would ever reach free agency simply because Rendon didn't appear to even want to play that long to get there. If what Kratz is saying is the case, then Rendon has been nothing but consistent in his feeling towards professional baseball. Nobody seemed to care back then because he was playing well and he was one of the league's best, but now that he's been injured and the production is lower, the issues around his passion for the game seem to have been magnified. Between 2014 and 2024, Rendon has said his priorities have differed. "It's a lot different. I'm married, I have 4 kids," he said. "My priorities have changed since I was in my early 20s, so definitely my perspective on baseball has been more skewed." So there you have it, the most bizarre story in baseball that will inevitably get more strange as time goes on. One thing is for certain, whether he's trolling everyone, including the media, by essentially being Marshawn Lynch to them,
"Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined, so y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to,"
or if he's being completely serious, the fans are ultimately the ones who have been left the most confused. In his 4 seasons since joining the Angels, he's hit for a .249 average with 22 home runs and 111 RBIs. Will he turn it around? Can he still make this contract worth it? Sound off in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton. I'll catch you in the next video. Later.